We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
Everything Theater. Hi, everybody. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And we're both taking a couple of hours away from all the stuff we're doing. Ellen is very busy over with Playhouse Stage Company right now.
Yeah, going into tech for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Exciting.
And I've got final rehearsal tomorrow for Sheer Madness again. But it's all fun. But the main attraction for our podcast today are the co-artistic directors for the Great Barrington Public Theater as they launch their season for the summertime. And we're delighted to have with us Jim Frangione and Judy Braha. Good to have you.
Oh, it's
Thank
great to be here with you.
Nice to see you again.
I was out at the theater last year and I ran into Jim and I think I said then, we're going to get you on the podcast.
Yeah.
And,
Here we are.
Right. We're good to our word.
Here we
Yeah.
are.
So what are you launching the season with?
Why don't you start? Judy's directing the first play that we're doing that's actually opening this weekend called Fragments. Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, Fragments is a play written and performed by Jim Petosa. And it's a kind of an oral history piece about the early days of the AIDS crisis and about the journey that he and his partner took between 1985 and 1990. And it's a beautiful piece. It's full of hope and love and has a lot about marriage equality in it. But it's really a sort of a catalog of that time through the eyes of one couple.
That's important work because people have forgotten
Yes,
what
they have.
transpired then and how that
Right.
has shaped many communities now.
Yeah, I think, Jim is in his 70s now, and he's very aware that he wants the story to live on in a very particular way. And so he wrote this. It first was a book. It's a published book you can buy on Amazon if you'd like, if you believe in Amazon. And he's turned it into a performance piece that I think is really beautiful, and we're really excited to be doing it during Pride Month.
Mm-hmm. And New Works is that is the essence of what you folks do over at Great Barrington Public Theater.
Yes.
That's the mission. So what comes up after this one?
So after this play is another brand new, we're doing all world premieres this summer. And this next play is written by Thomas Kee called, it's an AI play called iBoss. And it's a two-character play that is brilliant and that one of our colleagues from a former colleague of Judy's, a professor at Boston University, Clay Hopper, who directed our Bezos play last year, he's coming in to direct this piece. It's a really fantastic story. It's about a guy who he works as a writer online, and he works for a corporation, and he comes in for his annual review, and he's interviewed by a female bot named Lisa. And Lisa has a little bit of an agenda and displays a kind of a property of sentience as well. It's a fantastic, very contemporary, very of the moment play.
It's interesting. I mentioned at the beginning, I'm doing Sheer Madness right now, and I'm hoping that we only lost Ellen for a moment on screen.
Yeah.
And we sat around having a discussion because Kate Middleton, who's directing us, not the princess, but the actor who's has had a wonderful career, did a lot of used to do a lot of voiceover, but as a group, we were discussing the impact AI is having on the industry of performance. It's something SAG-AFTRA has really been
Yeah.
on the forefront. But live theater, maybe this is the last bastion where we can see people doing people stuff.
Yeah, never say never, but I think you're right about that. I too am in the voice world. I'm an audiobook narrator and have narrated probably 400 different audiobooks. I work for all the publishers, and it's a great job, and it's all union work through SAG-AFTRA, and where we actors get our pension and our health and all those kind of the great things. Fortunately, the performing unions have still are doling out pensions to performers, and not many industries can do that. But we are beset in the world of audio in terms of AI and the fight that's going on, where you can listen to Jimmy Stewart narrate your book, or Clark Gable. They've co-opted all those voices, but there's a lot going on around about those issues. That's for sure.
So it's an important piece that you're doing.
Yeah, it's very smart and also very unexpected, I have to say. You cannot predict where this piece is going. And it's very exciting to we've heard a couple readings of it, and it's very exciting piece.
Yeah.
Road trip, Ellen.
For sure, yeah. How has it progressed over time? You said there's been a couple readings. Has it changed all that much from its inception?
Well, it's funny. The first play we're doing, Fragments, was done in a very early reading at the Beckett Art Center in December that I happened to be at, and it was noted for me to go, and so I knew at that moment we had to produce Fragments. It's a beautiful play, and of course Jim Petosa, the writer and performer, is also a former colleague. He ran the theater department at Boston University for many years. Another colleague of Judy's, but with this next play, the AI play, iBoss, that came through Judy. She was invited to a very early reading of this play in Boston, and said to me, "We've got to consider this. We've got to look at this play." So we did a reading here in Great Barrington. We brought in a couple of actors to read it, just so that we could hear it out loud. And we pulled the trigger on it. We had with the playwright with us. It's so contemporary and so kind of you can't miss with this topic.
Yeah, and just to answer your question, Tom Kee, the writer, after he heard the play, originally he had conceived of the character of Lisa as just an orb on a desk. So the whole play happened between one live actor and one voice actor, basically. At that reading, and also in teaming up with the director Clay, they both decided that this bot, which she resents being called, should be a physical actor in space. And so that's been the big adventure, discovering how to do that. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how the whole thing spins out.
That sounds so exciting. And what follows that?
The last play of the season I'm also directing, and it's called Yellow Wallpaper 2.0 2020 by Jennifer Maisel. This is also a world premiere, and I don't know if either of you in your studies as younger people came across the short story called The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. It was used as in the first wave of feminism. It was a very famous short story, and it was about a woman with postpartum depression who was diagnosed with hysteria by her husband, as many women who had big feelings were in the late 1800s and earlier. And she was locked in a room for her own good in a beautiful house. And she's haunted by the yellow wallpaper in that room. And so this is a play that transposes that story into the early days of the COVID era. And the character is now a 40-something-year-old new mother who has locked herself in her own room in their new apartment because she thinks she has COVID, and she's also having postpartum depression. And and there's also yellow wallpaper in the room. It's a wonderful story that captures this kind of captures the woman's dilemma of how can you be a new mother and hold down 5 adjunct professorships and do the laundry and get the food, and now it's COVID and we can't go out of the house without danger. How do we juggle all those things and stay sane? Plus have the yellow wallpaper in the room. The yellow wallpaper is sort of haunted by the figure of Charlotte Perkins Gilman, who is the writer of that original short story. So it turns into a little bit of a horror story by the end. So it's a very exciting piece.
Ellen and I have talked with a lot of folks, and, post-COVID, the push was for uplifting, happy shows on stage. You're not doing that.
No. We kind of frame our season as personal, intimate stories with global implications. And each of these plays has a theme that runs through it that is larger than itself.
Yeah, and we chose these 3 plays for a very particular reason. We love them, of course, and the other reason is that as the Simon's Rock property is being sold by Bard College, we are now going to be in an interim space at St. James Place in Great Barrington, a little black box that we're creating there with about 75 seats. And we really wanted to find 3 plays that fit beautifully into that particular space. And that's kind of how we came to these 3.
Judy, you were reading my mind, because the next question was going to be, where are you guys performing now? Because the conversation I had with you, Jim, last year was because of the transition and the sale.
Right. Right.
Go ahead.
The space that we're creating here in St. James Place is out of necessity. It's a little black box, but we have our office here at St. James Place, and we do a lot of developmental work. A lot of the work that we do over the course of the year is developmental. We have a group called Berkshire Voices, which is our playwriting group, and we advise and develop plays coming out of that group. And all of that work is done here. So it was a natural fit to come here to the Great Hall to create. And we've augmented the lighting package. We're putting in seating risers, blacking out some of the windows. It really is going to be a fantastic, very intimate, very personal space.
Yeah, and we're also very excited about it because you're right in downtown Great Barrington, so it's very easy to walk down the street and have a drink, have a nice dinner, and then come see a play.
Not as many seats, though.
No, it's a smaller theater. One of the theaters that we operated at Simon's Rock was the Leibowitz Black Box Theater, which was, roughly 80 to 90 seats in there. So this is more akin to that configuration. But with Simon's Rock, my wife is a psychology professor at Simon's Rock and has been for 30 years, which is, I like to say, how I get free and unlimited counseling 24/7. So we're cognizant of the campus of Simon's Rock and the Daniel Arts facility there, and we're optimistic that we will end up back there. The property is being sold and in the process right now of being sold. So we're nauseatingly optimistic about our coming back to our theater there.
And the reason I ask about seats is dollars and cents. And we all know that these are very challenging times for the arts.
Very challenging for small, independent theater companies, nonprofit theater companies. We see this everywhere, and we have these discussions quite a bit about the future of the theater and what is happening, and people streaming and staying home. Certainly, COVID had a lot to do with the diminution of attendance for a lot of theaters. We're not interested in doing the bigger, feel good, feel happy plays. I think what we're interested more are the new works that are coming out that are speaking directly to us about who we are and the world we live in.
And that work is so important. And how do you we know that that work is so important as theater makers, and the audience knows once they come. How do you get an audience to come take a chance on these new works?
I think we have a very dedicated following in the South Berkshires, and we always could use more audience members. We'd love more people to come to our theater and see our work. But I don't know. I'm hoping that people come because they've come to expect this of us, come to expect to be a little bit challenged, a little bit entertained, and always being asked provocative questions.
You may have caught the article in the Times Union today as we're taping. Steve Barnes posted it based on about an experience over at Barrington Stage where they're doing the Zionists.
Yes.
And someone stood up and hollered back at the cast, and someone in the cast basically said, yes, you know, the point of the essence of the show is to trigger conversation, but we're the actors on stage, so this is not your time to be doing this. It was a beautiful, apparently really well said in a way to diffuse it. But audiences have the line between being an audience member and thinking you're watching television is really diminishing. What are you seeing with your audiences? Especially, you're doing some very thoughtful and provocative shows this season.
I am a veteran of doing shows where there's been a little bit of interactivity with audience and members of cast, people saying stuff out loud. And that to me is exciting. Not that I'm going to, encourage people to have conversations with actors. I did a play called Oleana many, many years ago in New York, a David Mamet play. And that was that play, I got my fill of interactivity with audience, people screaming things and yelling things. I think people want to report, and people want to report their feelings, but they also want to engage in big ideas and things that make them think. And it's an interesting kind of path along the way with new work. But I don't know, Judy, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing is that we're really dedicated to doing post-show conversations after these shows, at least twice a week. And for Fragments, we're going to do a post-show conversation after every show. Jim Petosa is very interested in talking to the audience about their experience of the play, their experience of loss, their experience of that time period. And it's not so easy to continue to have that conversation once you leave the theater. So we want to provide people with the opportunity to sit and talk with the creative staff and hear their ideas and express what's going on with them and have that exchange. And I think that's a very important part of seeing theater now, that really helps people sort of differentiate between their experience watching something on a screen and live in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to also say, Benita, a friend of mine who's one of my engineers is Emily Edelman, who said that you're a terrific actor. I've never seen you on stage, but I hope I get a chance to see you act in something. I've always been I've always followed you on television and the news and that stuff. When are we going to get a chance to see you besides Sheer Madness?
I do know that in the spring, Ellen and I are both going to be appearing in Other Desert Cities.
Oh, wow.
And wish me luck, the same to you. I've got an online audition as an understudy for the Broadway production, which I'm convinced is really just a look-see on talent. I couldn't get into the city. They're doing a virtual, so I'll record. But you got to be in it, right?
Yeah,
so
no,
definitely. Hey, maybe Ellen and I will get lucky enough and do some table readings for you guys. How's that?
Come on down.
We're always, in fact, Ellen and I met doing Shakespeare in Love. at Capitol Rep.
Oh,
And in the old costume makeup room at Capitol Rep, you sat in a line. I
mhm.
thought it was a fire hazard. The lead, the next one, and Ellen
Oh,
and I
geez.
sat next to each other, and we were both talking about wanting to do a podcast.
There you have it.
And
That's
here we
right.
are. It's
It
been
all
what,
happens
Yeah.
in the dressing room.
6
right.
years later? I know. Yeah.
But thank
Crazy.
you. That's very kind. Thank you.
Of course, yes.
Ellen, I thought you had something.
Oh, no, no, no. I was just
I
kind of
wanted to jump.
taking it all in. What are some things that excite you about this upcoming year of theater in terms of like for your company or other things that you see going on in the world of theater?
The Berkshires really is a fertile ground for theater. My feeling has always been, I think one of the reasons that we do so well with audiences who are looking for new work and developing works that shows that, stories they haven't seen before, is that there's so much other theater to see. Theater begets more theater. And at Shakespeare and Company, you've got classical work, you've got some new-ish plays that are going on. Barrington Stage with the Zionists, they're doing, I think, 4 brand new plays with other partners, rolling world premieres. So and Berkshire Theater Group, who does a lot of revivals. I mean,
Chester
and
Chester is doing a play that we did a reading of last summer
right.
called Amchitka by Mark St. Germain that we're
Right.
very excited about seeing.
So, I mean, there's just so much to do here in the Berkshires, and I think it's a fertile ground. So I love to see what everybody else is doing. I'm, you know, I like new work. That's kind of what makes my socks go up and down. But everybody's got their own predilections, and so it's just really fun to be here in this hotbed of theater and creativity to see what everybody's doing.
And
You
I'll
bring
use this opportunity to quickly plug. I got an email today. I didn't know Jeffrey Hawking was going to start doing this, but I love it. The Capdis Theater website. If people don't know about this website, you got to
No.
go. It's all been redone, and there's a list of this week on stage, and you have to scroll and scroll and scroll. There is so much. We've got the Fragments on there, right? It's got everything that's going around. So if you're like, what theater is happening, go to that website and it has all
Say
the
what it
events
is
going
again?
on.
Yeah, what's the name of
What's the name again?
Yeah, it's Capdist. So CAPDIS. Oh, Capdis Theater, THEAR. I can't spell THEATER.org. Capdis Theater.
TER.
ER.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe if you
that's the
do
way
RE,
we
you'll
pronounce
still
it.
find it.
TER.
When we launched this podcast, Ellen and I had a big discussion. Should it be ER or RE? We went ER.
Okay, we see where you came down.
Yes.
We're with you.
Good. It is a very exciting time. In fact, we're both, and Ellen is spearheading, we're involved with the Capital, what are we calling it? Capital Region Theater
Festival. Yep.
And
Oh, great.
to promote, and we give, if you will, points. You get us kind of like a bingo card. You keep score of where you've been, and whoever, they fill it up, and you're entered into a drawing to get tickets to New York City. I mean, as a community, we all have to work together to keep theater viable, especially with the younger generation. And I had another interesting conversation with somebody about that. I think I shared it with Ellen, that it was actually with Charles Pells, who is a conductor. You may know him. Charles was in Boston at New England Conservatory. I've worked with him at the Glens Falls Symphony Orchestra. And the conversation with him, and it'll come to me, his son was performing with us, that if you chase young people, you won't get them. Just keep exposing them in their youth. And then in the middle years, when they're busy raising families, they don't have the time. But you've exposed them as children to something they could have developed a love for, and then they return as their life becomes a little less encumbered in the home. And I found that fascinating. As we look out hoping to see, a young audience, but in fact, they may not be available to us. Let's just keep throwing it out there so they can embrace it in their time and space. Does that make some sense?
Absolutely, yeah. I was thinking this very thought yesterday. My wife and I were at a musical performance in Great Barrington at the Mahawi. It was Close Encounters with Music, and it was a chamber group, a fantastic group of musicians. And there was a young 12-year-old girl sitting in front of me with this, wild red hair. And she was, as most 12 and 13-year-olds, she was fidgeting but for the most part, tapping her fingers, and she was with her dad. And I thought to myself, this is hooking her in to this music and this art form, and she will think long and hard about that experience.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, tell us a little bit about the actors coming in.
Well, Jim is a longtime actor. Jim Petosa was the artistic director at the Olney Theater in DC for many years, as well as the New Rep Theater in Boston for 5 or 6 years or so, as well as running the theater department at Boston University. Jim is a not more of a director, and but is a wonderful performer. And I say this more so, a storyteller, has his own rhythm and cadence. And this story that is very personal to him is very moving and sometimes funny, as he regales the story of his life with his partner through that period, which, by the way, I started out as an actor in 1982 in New York City. So it was right before and during the course of when AIDS was, exploding onto the scene and people were dying. And we, heterosexual or gay, everybody was terrified of what was going on in the world at that point. But Jim is a fantastic actor and storyteller. And then in AI,
For iBoss, yeah, we have two local actors. Very excited about having with us Sarah Keys, who was in Survival of the Unfit, a play that we did a couple of years ago. She was wonderful in that play, and she's definitely in the neighborhood. And
she's in the Williams kind of area.
yeah, and the male character is played by an actor who's moved here fairly recently in the last year or two, named Doug McKechnie, but he lives in Bennington, and so it's really exciting to have them both be local folks, and they're so talented. So that's exciting too. And then for the Yellow Wallpaper, the main character is being played by Clotilde Horn, who has appeared at Shakespeare and Company a number of times, as well as Wham. She's a New York actress, but she's had a lot of Berkshire kind of history and Boston. And she was a student of mine at Boston University a long time ago. So I'm really happy to have her in the cast. And then Matt Neely, who is a regular at Barrington Stage Company, is going to be in the cast as well. So lots of local people.
Nice. I'm sure it's
Judy.
an easy sell to come up to the Berkshires in the summer to apply your trade.
Oh, yeah. No, not a bad place to go. Judy ran the MFA directing program at BU for, I don't know how many, well, I won't say how many years, but several years.
A lot of years.
Yeah, a lot of years. And that's how we met back in Boston. I had a little theater company there called the Stage Company of Boston in the mid kind of later 80s. And that's how we met in the theater. And then when she moved out here, we became simpatico here with Great Barrington Public.
Can little theater companies like that survive nowadays, Jim?
The margins are so thin, Benita. When we bring in, most of our income is donated. I think our ticket revenue is probably 30 to 35% of our income. And most of it is donations, and we have a little bit of grant. We have some grants from the Feigenbaum Foundation, and thank God from the Schubert Foundation. Last year, we got our first Schubert Foundation grant, which is a bit of a kind of a moment for a theater to get to the point where you get a Schubert Foundation, an amazing group. And so, like I said, the margins are very thin, especially with a small theater. I have hope for the American theater that we will continue to grow out of whatever COVID is and the remnants of COVID. But I think it's been difficult. Fortunately, we've got a good audience and a devoted audience who comes to see what we do. So we'll see. I'm not sure if that question really has been answered yet.
We have noticed that many of the very famous new play producing organizations have been stepping back, going out of business entirely, all of that. So we're very grateful to be continuing to produce the work that we feel excited about and that it is new work.
Yeah, we tighten our belt. We are doing, there's no surprise that we're doing 3 small cast brand new plays this year. But as Judy mentioned, the Lark Theater in New York City, the Sundance Theater Lab, the biggest new play development forum in the country, the Humana Festival at Actors Theater of Louisville, where I performed in 2013, all have gone away. I understand that the O'Neill Center is kind of facing some big challenges this year as well. So some big questions.
Well, we're delighted to have you with us. We're delighted and honored to be able to celebrate the work that you do, continue to do, the excitement of new plays. That's, I know some of the old ones will put what they say puts the fannies in the seats, but you gotta plan for tomorrow as well. You open on the 18th of the month and you run through, what's final curtain for you guys?
July 5th.
For that show, yeah.
For Fragments is July 5th.
For Fragments, for iBoss, we run July 23rd to August 9th. And for the final show of our season, we open on August 20th and run through almost Labor Day, the 6th.
The 6th, I think.
The whole
So
summer
get something
program
on your calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, listeners, please go out. It's beautiful. It's great, wonderful new work. And tell us about it. Let us know what you thought of these new shows. For now, I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn and Judy Braha and Jim Frangione. Thanks so much. Break legs, guys.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see y'all next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.